welcome to Connected episode 275. It's made possible this week by our sponsors, Booz Allen, Health IQ, and Hover. My name is Stephen Hackett, and I am joined in this new year by my friend and yours, Mr. Myke Hurley.
I would like to be known as Ricky Hurley for this episode.
Well, I don't. That's assumptive. We'll see.
King of Rickies, Myke Hurley.
Federico is also here. Hello, Federico.
Hey, we'll have to see about that, Myke. I don't know.
Oh, yeah?
I don't know
Yeah,
for how
we're gonna
long
see
you're
about
going
that,
to
huh?
be king of the Ricky. Mm-hmm.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. I have a conspiracy theory.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this is our annual prediction episode. If you're not familiar with this, we do these before Apple events, but we also do them for the whole year, where we make predictions, then we grade ourselves, and there's a very elaborate rule and scoring system that we will discuss as we go. So today we're doing a couple things. We are reviewing our 2019 picks, and we will see who won that for last year, and we'll be making our 2020 picks. And occasionally throughout the year, we revisit these, but in a year from today, we will see how we've done. So it's a very exciting day.
You hold your horses.
What? There's nothing else to talk about.
You wait right there, my
There's
friend.
nothing else to talk about.
We can. The Rickies can wait. You have done two things. You betrayed us, and
Yes.
you purchased something. There is a purchase/betrayal going
I
on.
would like to bring forward a motion to impeach Stephen Hackett.
Oh,
He
no.
is unfit to co-host this show.
Wow. Okay.
It's not
What-
like I bought a ThinkPad. I mean, come on.
No, you betrayed us for another program with exclusive content.
Yeah. I would like to say that you colluded with David Sparks.
Yes. Yes.
That there was collusion.
There was collusion. And therefore, Myke and I are going to have a vote.
Okay.
And with this vote, you will be impeached from a podcast, which means
Nothing.
it really means nothing. Basically, just like in real life, like it means nothing.
You'll still be here,
Literally
but you will always be remembered as the first
impeached co-host.
co-host of this program.
Wow. I've done nothing wrong.
You bought a Macintosh Professional
Yes.
and kept it from the connected audience.
Yes.
As a secret.
When asked to share such news with the audience, he refused.
Refused.
Mentioning the
Refused.
fact that he had struck a deal behind closed doors with David Sparks to share this information on a different show.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we have all we need for podcast impeachment here. Steven, you have any statements?
I don't think I have to defend myself here. Nothing wrong.
Okay.
Sure.
No
But you
collusion.
did buy a Macintosh Professional, though.
I did do that, and I did break the news on MPU first.
And that proves the point. I mean, I don't know in what exact episode it was that I said you would definitely do this and you said you wouldn't, but there is 100% that has been done multiple times.
Yes.
Would you like to talk about why?
I mean, I got really excited.
Yeah, I think that is perfectly valid. We all knew it was going to happen, right? Like, I think everybody knew this.
Yeah.
Everybody knew you were buying it. You didn't, but everybody else did.
Mm-hmm. So in the weirdness that is the holidays, it is actually out for delivery right now.
Yeah,
so
we're
at some point,
we're in a time situation at the moment.
So I have bought it, but I'm not using it yet. But by the time this comes out, I'll have had it for a couple of weeks.
Well, unless the UPS guy just loses it.
That it's an
Right.
80-pound box. That would be tricky. So
It could fall off the back of a truck.
That would be sad.
It would hurt somebody severely.
It would crush whoever's behind the UPS truck in traffic. So I may have to duck out at some point and go answer the door. But I did it. I shared about it on Mac Power Users first. That's just how it is. So I stand in defiance to your impeachment.
Clearly, you're just shouting it back at us. Well, I'm very happy for you. I
Yes.
actually am quite jealous of you because I've been watching lots of Macintosh Professional YouTube content, and it's making me want it more.
Do you see where Quinn Nelson took his apart completely?
That's Quinn's specific video makes me want the machine a lot, even though I would be so scared to touch it. But for some reason, the fact that he and you own a computer that can be taken apart, I was like, well, I want to take my computer apart. But I don't. It's probably ill-advised no matter what. But it was a very good video. I liked that he brought to light some things that we had made assumptions about, right? Like the fact that the wheels, in theory, can be added on, right? Like that you can take the feet off if you take the entire computer apart. They're not necessarily attached to the frame, in theory, because you can take the feet off, which means that somebody could make aftermarket wheels for a Mac Pro if that's the thing that you're interested in. But I don't know, like it just seems like fun, right? Like I was also listening to ATP and hearing John like pick out all the cards he wants to put in his, like it's like just seems like a fun thing to be able to do as a computer user. I enjoyed putting my own PC together, and being able to do that with a Macintosh Professional, it just sounds great.
Yeah, I'm excited. So can we move on? Can we talk about our 2019 predictions?
Can we predict if you will remain in the show?
I feel like I will not be evicted from office. Round 1 of our 2019 predictions. Federico, you got to go first for 2019.
Wow, we're not recapping rules. We're not just, what is this like?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. You're right.
Banana Republic situation over here. Like, what's going on? Like, there's rules.
Yeah, I feel like the rules, in case people are new to the show.
Good point.
If we don't explain the rules before we do the prediction grade,
it makes no sense.
It will make no sense.
No, it's not that it will not make sense. It's that you just won't enjoy it as much. Because the rules are part of the enjoyment.
The rules are part of the fun.
Okay.
Yes.
So let me go through the rules, and then we will move on.
Thank you.
The winner, who shall be called Chairman Ricky, as a reminder, from the previous Rickies gets to pick first.
We've already gone into rule 1.1 because the idea of picking first depends which Rickies we're talking about.
Yes.
Correct.
Because there are multiple concurrent
Yes.
Rickies that occur throughout the year.
Yes.
So with the annual Rickies, the winner of the previous annual Ricky, who is Chairman Ricky for the annual Rickies, gets to pick the Ricky first. But then there are events throughout the year, right? Like different Apple events. That person gets to pick. I'm lost now. I'm confused already.
So basically, it to go first, you have to have won the previous iteration of the Ricky. So
yeah,
to be first, and so for instance, whoever won 2019 will get to go first in the 2020 annual predictions. Whoever won WWC 2019 will go first for WWC 2020.
No, it's because the Apple events just roll on one after another. Remember,
that was different too.
Yeah, all the Apple events, like the events, they roll on. So we do Rickies for those. We should also talk about why they're even called Rickies. Whoever there's like, and there are picks that go throughout the year. The winner of the picks gets to pick first the next time, and then we also do annual picks as well. And they're like two different tracks of picks that we do. And we also in 2019 did an audio predictions, which is like a whole separate thing.
Yes.
Right. So I'm adding to our document. Annual winners roll over to preserve the order. 2019 annual winner gets to go first in 2020.
Yes.
Etc.
Look, it's very simple. Like this totally makes sense, I think.
It is very simple, but it's difficult to explain it in a concise way, I think.
Yeah.
But so the reason that they're called the Rickies
Yes.
is no one's going to explain this.
Well, we have to explain the point system, and we'll get to this.
Okay.
So,
all right, cool.
To earn any points, everything written down in the prediction document must come true. No half points are ever awarded.
Never.
1 point is awarded for any pick deemed correct in the first 2 rounds.
Yes, the regular round is... There's 2 regular rounds, and that's just 1 point.
Right.
Each.
And then the third round, it used to be called the risky pick round. And this is how that worked. 2 points are awarded for correct picks in the risky pick round. If your risky pick is wrong, you lose a point from your total.
Yep.
And critically, the other 2 hosts, impeached or not, must agree that your pick is risky. And what happened is, I think it was honestly, it was probably me.
Yes, it was you.
Mispronounced Risky Pick as Ricky, and we now have the Rickies.
Yes.
Yeah, that's how they're naming. Thank you for helping. Thank you for all that explanation
Yes.
and for helping drag me out of the Ricky naming
Yes.
hole that I found myself in.
We also have non-graded picks at the
Yes.
very end, which are just things that we want out there.
They're
The Year of
also
Stephen
flexes.
came from a non-graded pick.
Right, they're flexes too. It's like
Yes.
things
It's
that we think might
bragging
happen.
rights. Yes.
Yeah, but we're not. None of us are bold enough to think that they would definitely happen. That we would
Right.
pick them. But
Right.
later we'll get to go. Haha! It's the Year of Stephen. You know?
Yeah.
Correct. There is this concept that the loser of the non-graded picks has to buy drinks for the other two hosts, but this
Yeah.
has never been enacted. It's like it's on the books, but no one has ever taken advantage
This
of that
is
rule.
going to be like, you have those, well, we have a lot of these in Britain, right? Rules that are so old because they were just never taken out of
Right.
like law. So like
Right.
there's this hill somewhere in Wales where you can legally kill someone with a bow and arrow or whatever nonsense it is on like the first
Really?
Thursday
Is
of
that
the
true?
There's like some, that is about 75% true what I've just said, but there is like some really weird law about a
There's
hill.
only a 25% chance that you go to jail if you do that. Is that what you're
Law,
saying?
hill, bow, arrow.
Can we do some
Googling
research
this.
on this topic?
First-hand research.
In York, it's perfectly legal to shoot a Scotsman with a bow and arrow, excluding Sundays.
Interesting.
So
Oh, yeah. Well, you don't want to do it on the Lord's Day. So
Right.
it's the
okay.
wrong time
So
to do
you,
it.
you can shoot, right? You can just shoot.
With a bow and arrow
Interesting. Very interesting.
only.
You guys want to go on a camping trip?
Do we have any bones to pick with the Scotsman also? Like,
We could find one.
James Thompson? Oh, no, I love
Oh.
James.
well,
This
I
is
mean,
the first person that came
maybe
to my
just a
mind.
little shoot, like in the
little bit?
in the thigh, just a little, like
Yeah.
just a little bit of the arrow
Just
tip.
like a pure flesh wound.
Just a small bow and arrow
just
wound.
A graze. Just a graze.
It's a close shave, really.
like right by the calf, like just like
This is turned into a very threatening, threatening
All right.
episode.
So those are the rules. This is how this works.
yes.
I think maybe we take a break before we get into
Yes.
this.
Okay, cool.
This episode of Connected is brought to you by Booz Allen. Modernizing the future is a challenge, especially for large organizations. You may need to integrate legacy systems with new technology. You may need to incorporate AI and analytics to work more efficiently and make faster decisions. And everyone needs new ways about how to move to what's next, whether for government or commercial goals. Booz Allen understands that they're helping some of the world's largest organizations modernize. They understand the missions of government and industry and the need to adapt to constant change. They provide open source solutions so clients can integrate innovation from anywhere, whether from visionary startups or major contractors. Plus, they're helping clients power new technology with analytics. And because security is everyone's priority, they integrate their capabilities with intelligent-grade cybersecurity. With Booz Allen, integration means putting you in control of innovation. Integrate, innovate, get it done with Booz Allen. Learn more at boozallen.com/relay. That's BOOZALLEN.com/relay. We'd like to thank Booz Allen for their support of the show and Relay FM. All right, round one. This is what we predicted in 2019. Federico, you said there will be a new Apple News subscription service for content from select publications.
Yeah, Apple News Plus, that was announced in March.
Nailed it.
Yeah, that pretty much came true.
What we didn't know at the time is just how select it would be.
It was
Yeah.
real select.
Thankfully, you didn't say a new popular subscription service.
No,
Or successful or just good. Really.
no, always omit the qualifiers.
Always.
And try to make it as generic as possible, at least for the regular round. So yeah,
Unless you're demanded to make it more specific,
Yes,
which is a thing that we have done in the past.
Yes, because it's too generic. Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
But in this case, we did get the Apple News subscription service, Apple News Plus, and it's not great, really. I don't think any of us are paying for that at the moment.
Nope.
But it's out. It's out there. It exists. It came out in 2019. So there you go. That's a point.
Up next, I said that the Mac Pro would ship by the end of 2019. And I am a witness to this coming true.
Yep. There was an addendum that I gave, which was when you can order one was perfectly acceptable as a thing. Like whether they arrived or not didn't count. There is a not graded in here, which says, I assume Stephen says this, I waffle on sticking with my iMac Pro.
Sure,
Didn't really waffle, did you? You'd ordered one within days of them being available for order.
Well, they did waffle for 2 days. So
it was a very small waffle.
Very small waffle.
A waff, really. If you,
Myke, you continued on Federico's subscription service theme, saying that Apple would launch a subscription service featuring original video content. Well done.
Thank you.
So we all got a point in round one.
Yes.
We are tied according to my notebook.
So this ordering of Federico, Stephen, Myke means that the 2018, that was how it was scored, right? Federico came first, you came second, I came third.
Yeah, assuming that the rules we have now were in effect a year ago, it's impossible to know if that was true.
Okay, yeah, no one could ever possibly know that. But that's what we will naturally assume.
All right. Myke, you want to walk us through round two?
Federico said, iOS gets a tabbed Windows feature that all apps can implement.
So at the time, there's quotes around tabbed Windows because at the time, and I remember we talked about this, we didn't know what the multi-window support on iPad was.
We couldn't conceptualize it. Nobody could.
And it turned out to be, in fact, literally just Windows and expose. And we had all kinds of crazy ideas in mind. But I think it's a point because even though there are no tabs, we were basing this off of a report from Bloomberg. They mentioned tabs and windows like interchangeably. It was very confusing. So we went with tabbed Windows because it was like a catch-all idea for the idea of you're going to be able to open multiple instances of the same app across the OS. And
I will grant this. This is how I remember that conversation happening. Yeah. That it was kind of like we know there's this feature coming. Nobody knows what it means. We'll just go with it.
Like we know what it's going to do. We don't know what it looks like.
Yeah. So I would say that I would opt for a half point, but we can't give half points according to the rules. So I yield to the two of you. I think you get this, but it's by the skin of your teeth.
But
it is
more of a point
close.
than not a point, though. Like if
correct.
I agree.
And that means it's a full point because we only do in zeros and ones around these parts.
Thank you.
Steven's round two pick was that the MacBook Escape would go away,
which it did. It got replaced by a 2-port touch bar.
That was a good one.
Yeah, that was. I mean, I don't know how I felt about this at the time, but even though it has happened, that was quite a risky pick there. I think. That was you were really going on one there. I think.
Too bad I didn't make it my risky pick.
Yeah.
I mean, it made sense to me. The product line makes more sense now. Look, that low-end MacBook low-end MacBook Pro is still pretty wimpy. Still only has 2 ports, but it has a touch bar and Touch ID, so it is no longer the machine that we knew as the MacBook Escape.
My second pick is a perfect example of how wording can win you a point. On iOS 13, the iPad home screen features more than just app icons. We all expected it to be more than just widgets.
Yes.
But what we got was widgets, so technically I get that point, right?
Right.
It was very
because
close,
it does
but
feature more than just app icons. I mean, in addition to icons and widgets, there's also a date.
Clock.
And,
there's a
clock. So it's a lot more than just app icons.
Man. How good would it have been if they didn't put the widgets, but I won it because of the clock?
That would have been incredible, but thankfully
that would have been good.
You do get the widgets too. So and we're going to talk about the iPad home screen some more later, I think.
Are we?
Yes. Now, we're at this point, round 2, at the end of round 2, we're all tied. 2 points each.
That's correct.
We're all tied. And we go into the Ricky picks with a perfect tie and basically a catastrophe for you two at this point.
How dare you?
Well, I mean, just look at the color in our document. So my Ricky pick was Reminders gets a major update. Parenthesis. How do we decide major? Dash on stage at WWDC or we decide past that. Close parenthesis. Not graded. some features Federico would like to see. Now, obviously, we have no way of knowing what features I would have liked to see because they're not in the document, and I say things. We all say
if you didn't
things.
write them down, there is no way of knowing.
There is no. They were never said. Let's just go with that. But yes, reminders did get a major update. It was on stage at WWDC. One of the main features of iOS and iPadOS 13 and macOS Catalina, the new Reminders app. It's got an all-new design. It's got the smart lists at the top of the sidebar. You can organize your lists in folders. There's all-new natural language input, a bunch of stuff, attachments, subtasks. It's all new, and it is a major update. It's not perfect, but I use it. I like it, so it's there. It came out this year. So that's, I would say that's, a solid 2 points for the Ricky pick. Yeah. And
Good job.
For context, it was Ricky because Reminders was basically being left without an update since 2013. So at the beginning of 2019, it was 6 years without an update. And for that reason, we considered...
as 2019 came along, like as we moved through from January up to June, this was an incredibly obvious pick. But in January, it was not. But leading up to WWDC, everyone knew Reminders was getting an update because it became one of the big rumors. But before January, that was not the case, right? Like otherwise, it wouldn't have been Ricky,
right?
But so it was a good one. It was a very good one. I think that it was a good way to decide on I think that we were smart in hindsight by saying it being on stage because how do you define major? Right? So, but I think that doing the on-stage part was at least it's major to Apple.
Now, Stephen, what happened here? Stephen said, first ARM Mac ships in 2019, and then we have a subclause here. Myke, if Stephen gets this right, I will buy you one. If the Mac Pro is an ARM Mac, I will buy you the top-of-the-line model.
Yes.
Myke made his promise.
I was so sure that this wasn't happening. I was ready to put serious money where my mouth was because top of the line would have been $50,000.
Yes.
That would have been incredible.
Steven, what happened here? Why did you say this?
I mean, clearly I was just premature on the ARM Mac timeline. So that's all there was. I still think it's possible. Sure, I think it's maybe even possible in 2020, but it did not
I guess
come
in a
true
minute
in
we're going to
2019.
find out how possible you think that is. I guess
That's true. So
is it going to make an appearance again?
Yeah. So I lose a point. So I'm back down to just 1 point.
Myke said Apple releases an iPhone subscription service that bundles a device, Apple Care, and a selection of... And you really went for this one. And a selection of other Apple content services into one monthly payment. Parentheses, not just additional iCloud space.
If I remember, I was forced to go into this. It couldn't just be one service. It had to be a selection. I mean, I will just put to the courts at this moment that if you do get an iPhone on the upgrade program, you would technically get Apple TV Plus for a year.
But that's true for everybody.
I'm just saying it that is a thing that would happen. I just wanted to say it. I do not think that I deserve the point, but I merely want, because I tell you boys, if I didn't say this, we would have got a bunch of tweets about it, right?
Sure.
Right. So I wanted to just say it. It was a thing. It was considered,
right? But
I do not win the point. I cannot believe that Apple didn't do this. I'm so surprised that they have not done this. I am convinced they still will, but I genuinely think one of the reasons that there was no bundling this year was because they were giving away the free year of TV Plus.
Yep.
I still think they will do bundles, but they need to wait now until people will actually be buying TV Plus, because the majority of users right now are getting it for free, right? So... I mean, the majority of people that are using it, right? I know that there are more people that have iPhones than bought new iPhones, but I guarantee that the majority of TV Plus customers are people that got it for free for a year.
Oh, yeah.
And so I still think this will change, But it turns out that I think because of the free TV Plus year, there was no point to bundle.
Mm-hmm.
So Myke, you and I are tied.
Mm-hmm.
We are tied. You know what that means?
That means we have to do a coin flip.
Yep. Do you want me to do it?
Well, no. You can't be trusted because we're
not
tied.
me.
So Federico has to do it.
I will
yes,
do it,
okay.
and we have Siri here.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Myke, I will let you pick what you want.
Heads.
Myke is heads. Okay. Flip a coin.
Heads.
We have heads.
Yes. I win.
Oh, just one shot. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We do
one shot.
best out of 3.
No. Why would we do that?
We usually
We've
do.
done that before.
We
No, we
usually
don't.
do.
No, we don't. No, we don't. No, we don't.
What,
You are
Jesus?
thinking of the one
All
time
of this
where
for
we had to flip a
second
coin
spot.
over and over and over again
Okay.
because we all tied. Remember at
Yes.
WWDC? That was the
All right.
reason you
Yeah.
remembered so many
Okay.
coin flips.
Okay.
Because I had to construct a system of coin flip knockout.
Well. All right. So much for the year of Stephen. Then last.
In the year of Stephen, he
Ending
loses the
on a
Rickies.
sour note. The year of Stephen.
Oh no! What it means is 2020 is not the year of Stephen.
No.
That's what that means.
It wouldn't,
He had
yeah.
all of his success in 2019.
Impeached and last.
Oh boy. All right. Well, we do have our ungraded, non-graded.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
No, but
So
can
these are things
you just say it though? Who's the winner?
I mean, I believe there's some sort of conspiracy, but Federico won. You won.
Congratulations, Federico.
Nice, thank you.
You've done that twice now in a row.
The other one, I guess. Yeah.
You don't manage to win any other picks.
Yeah.
of any
Well,
kind,
I gotta
but you
do better during the year. That's my problem.
Yeah.
Need to be more focused. Especially the WWDC ones.
We'll get to that.
So non-graded extra picks.
Mm-hmm.
I said so. This is split into one is unfortunately very wrong, and the other is very true. Air Power is released, which LOL.
Yeah.
That didn't
It
go
didn't.
through.
It did the opposite of that.
Comma. This is where things are turning for me. New AirPods are released. So yes, we did get
You
the
got
new,
that twice. You got two of
twice. So it sort of cancels out the first part of the sentence because it happened twice. But these are non-graded, so it doesn't matter.
So it doesn't matter.
This has got to be your biggest regret.
This should have been my Ricky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It should. Yeah. It would have been awesome.
Uh-huh.
But my non-graded extra pick was that someone on Apple's executive website would leave or be fired, and we had
Multiple
Angela and Johnny.
instances. Yeah.
Both
I mean,
go.
the first instance happened within weeks of you making the pick. It was
Yep.
kind of incredible, really.
Yeah. So that's where Year Stephen came from, and I will always look back on it as a fond time, a time of peace and prosperity in the land. But now it's gone, and Federico is king.
Mm-hmm. Prepare
He's
for
the
terror.
chairman now.
Yes, I'm the chairman, Ricky. Well, at least for this particular instance. Myke, what was your extra pick?
Over-ear headphones, i.e. HeadPods. Something like this product, we've spoken about it, does exist, which is those new Beats, right? Like they're very much like what we would have assumed the HeadPods to be. They have noise cancelling. They have the same chip that the AirPods have in them. This might be all that ever is now, I think, but I was hopeful that there was like Apple-made, like Apple headphones, but that seems like not the case.
I said in my second round of extra picks, Shortcuts 3.0 is shown off at WWDC with the new developer framework for integration with apps. And sure enough, all of that was true. Sub-item, and this is very sad. I really cannot believe that it didn't happen. Shortcuts also gets folders, which is very wrong, very much wrong. And
Can't believe that.
I really cannot believe that folders are not in. Like, it doesn't make sense. And AirPlay actions in 2019. So I got that right. We do have AirPlay actions. You can pause speakers. You can play music. There's automations powered by Shortcuts for AirPlay stuff. There's a bunch of AirPlay things, really. Shortcuts still does not have full AirPlay 2 integration. Like, you cannot control or set playback on multiple speakers at once. But, still some basic AirPlay support is in there. So that's nice.
I said that WWDC would introduce a multi-year plan to move the Mac and iOS closer. I think I got this right on a couple of fronts. We have Mac Catalyst, which allows developers of iPad apps to spend some time and get their app up and running on the Mac. And then ultimately long-term, and the move that I think matters more, is Swift UI, a new way to write application interfaces and, developer stuff that will run across basically all of Apple's platforms, from the watch all the way up to the TV. So yeah, I feel like this one was answered kind of twice over. So we'll see how any of that pans out. Right, it's still early days, but at least I think they've pointed at developers in the right direction.
My last pick is one I should have had. This as my Ricky because I was very confident in it, but nobody believed that it would happen except me. That the 2019 iPhones would start at a lower price than the 2018 iPhones.
What's the context on these ones? On this one, the people were complaining about the fact that the 2018 iPhones were too expensive.
Yeah, the 10R was pricey, and so I think you won this just by the sheer fact that the 11 is cheaper than the 10R was. But also last year, if you remember, Apple was still sort of pitching the 10S as the default. Like, there's also the 10R if you want it, and it turned out that the 10R sold better, and now with the 11, they've sort of refactored their marketing. Said the 11 is the iPhone, and if you want extra stuff, you can upgrade. So I think you got it right, sort of in fact and feeling.
Yeah, because the reason that I was feeling strong on this was that Apple had their bad year of iPhone sales, right? These things have started to decline, and one of the reasons being said was the price change. So they started doing all that stuff around like aggressively trying to get deals for people, and I figured that it made just logical sense to bring the starting price down a little bit as a way to try and calm some price conscious problems.
All in all, I think we did a pretty solid job at predicting what 2019 would hold. Like, yeah, two of us got our Rickies wrong, but like, there's a lot of green in this Google Doc.
Yeah, I think we did a decent job.
Yeah, we were
better than we did at WWDC.
Oh yeah, that's always a tragedy, basically.
Where everyone had 0 points.
Yeah,
that was rough. But yeah, so good job, everybody. Congratulations, Federico.
Thank you.
I hope that you enjoy another year of being the chairman Ricky of the annual Rickies.
See, this is what happens when you two do not conspire against me. A fair and balanced game. That's what people like.
I would like any proof, just like a shred of evidence that this is happening. If you can provide that, then maybe we can have a conversation.
That's you are.
These are just baseless claims.
Derailing the conversation here. Wow.
Okay.
Yes. Wow.
Wow. It's just so disappointing.
This episode of Connected is brought to you by Health IQ. At some point in the last couple of years, you've probably created or maintained a healthy habit, something like getting enough sleep, working out on a regular basis, or just trying to eat better. If you live a healthy lifestyle, you could be rewarded for your hard work with more affordable life insurance rates and save up to 41%. Just take the Health IQ quiz, and then they'll walk you through the entire process of applying. And the policy is underwritten by one of their top insurance partners. There will be a real person at the end of the phone who you can chat to when you have questions. And the savings are exclusive to Health IQ. You won't find them anywhere else, but you must qualify to get that special rate. A couple of years ago, I really got serious about my diet, cutting things out I didn't need that weren't good for me, and partnering that with going to the gym on a regular basis. Honestly, I feel better than I ever have. That sort of stuff is important, and it's something that you can focus on in the new year. To see if you qualify, go to healthiq.com/connected to take the proprietary Health IQ quiz. Depending upon your score, as well as other related qualifying factors, you can save up to 41% on your life insurance premiums compared to other providers. Again, that's healthiq.com/connected to let them know that we sent you and to start the process with the Health IQ quiz. There's no commitment. You'll learn even more about potential opportunities to be rewarded for your commitment to living healthy at healthiq.com/connected. Our thanks to Health IQ for their support of this show and all of Relay FM.
I would like to take this moment to review all of the victories that have occurred over the last year. for no particular reason than to say we had 5 sets of predictions throughout the year, and your boy over here won 3 of them.
Who?
Me.
Oh.
And Federico lost all of them except this one.
Right. He just wants to publicly demonstrate what I was just talking about. The fact
that I'm better at predictions than
during
you?
the year when I take my eye off the ball, conspiracy happens. This is
what you
proof
just said
of
is
that.
it's your own fault. You just said it's your own
When?
fault.
I
You
did
said
not
you
say
took
that.
your
I
eye
did
off
not
the
say
ball.
that.
You said that. So no, I didn't tell you to take your eye off the ball.
I
you
did not
did
say
it.
that. It was a temporary taking the eye off. It was like a temporary distraction. The conspiracy now that sticks around. That's permanent, right? And that's the problem.
See, throughout the entire year, I have also never come last.
Well, that's further
Just
proof.
by a
You're
coin
just-
toss this time.
you're
Doesn't
just
matter.
Continuing
Doesn't matter.
to incriminate yourself.
I also won all of WWDC by coin tosses, but that's the rules that we decided.
That's not a victory. That's just fortune. You're very
gambling.
fortunate. You're very yes. You're good at gambling. You should go to Vegas, not to WWDC.
Whoever won WWDC won by fortune, right? No matter what happened. But I won 2 other sets of predictions based on my big brain and intellect, which was the March
Wow.
Media event and the audio predictions.
It is your very big brain that
I cleared up
helped
on
you.
both of those.
I won the September iPhone event. I feel like that's
Yep.
a very important event, so I'm proud of that victory. It doesn't really take the sting out of coming last in the annual predictions, but I'll hold my head high for September.
So I'm just going to say, whilst Federico may have won the 2019 annual predictions, that is why I call myself King Ricky for the year, because I won the majority of the Rickies that occurred.
monarchy much, Mike.
Yeah. How's that working out?
Great, actually.
Yeah, well, he does have a point.
Our monarchy is fine. There's no problem with the monarchy. That's the one part of this country that is running okay.
All right, so it is time to lay our cards on the table for 2020. And Federico, since you just won, you get to go first.
All right. Oh, this will be fun. So, this may as well. So, here's a question. We are recording this before the end of 2019, right?
That's true.
And thanks to
Yes.
the magic of podcasting, it'll be out at the very beginning of 2020. Now,
Yep, January 1st.
what happens if what I'm about to say takes place before?
Nothing.
Oh.
Like you win the point. Like
I get the point.
Anything, we
I
are
think
doing
so.
it now. We are committing it now to audio.
All right.
The 3 of us will all agree on it, right? Like if it happens tomorrow, it just happens tomorrow. And
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
I
Perfect.
think I agree with that. Yeah.
Perfect. So my first pick prediction is
Unless
yes.
you cheated.
How? How am I supposed?
I don't know. Maybe you got a press release.
no.
on
Yeah,
embargo.
you're ahead of us in time zones.
No.
Do you know something we
no,
don't know
that's
yet?
not how it works. Stephen Apple is
Could work.
based in the US. So press releases come out in the US.
USA.
Also, I should say I have absolutely no inside knowledge on this. I have no idea what is going on. I know it's something that in theory is supposed to happen, and that is why it is my prediction. So, Apple will name a successor to Steve Dowling, former head of PR at Apple.
I just want to state, this is the most boring pick of any pick we have ever done.
So what?
I just want to say, there is no problem in that. I just wanted to say
This
it.
is a person that used to be on the Apple leadership page, with all the
Yep.
other executives. I don't know what the correct title is. I'm guessing VP of Communications, maybe? I don't know.
I would like, personally, just saying, some clarification around how we score this. What I would want is how this person is named. How does the world find out about this head of PR?
It becomes known publicly. So whether Apple announces it with a press release or puts a new face on the website or a report from Bloomberg or some other publication comes out saying this is the executive now in charge, this is the person now in charge of Apple PR, and other journalists can corroborate their information and it becomes known that that person is indeed the head of Apple PR. And I mean, if you just go to any Apple event, you will see the person in charge of Apple PR. It's the person usually next to the CEO, that kind of stuff. So it becomes well known that a new person has been appointed as a head of Apple PR. I just think that it's something that has to happen because I believe when Steve Dowling resigned from Apple months ago, and I mean, at this very moment, Apple is still sort of using Phil Schiller as a fill-in for this job. So
The fill-in.
yes. So I just think it needs to happen. You know, what do you guys think? Does that criteria make sense? Like we just get to know at some point.
So I have written it down thusly. Either named by Apple officially,
Yes.
or is reported by more than one outlet that a person has been appointed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Cool.
I think that works.
I mean, this one does feel... I mean, obviously, the first 2 rounds, these are picks that can just be givens, right? Like, these are just like free-for-all. We get in there first, and whoever gets their picks in there first, although technically Federico, if he wanted to take either mine or Steven's pick, he can do that as the winner, because he is essentially can pick first, right? That's the way it will go. But like Federico made his picks the way he made them. These are not Rickies, right? So they can be things that would seem completely obvious. In fact, if we're playing the game right, all of these things in rounds 1 and 2 should be obvious to all of us. If anyone is going, really? Then maybe we've picked incorrectly.
I mean, I have questions about your next pick, but okay.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
My pick is that the 2020 iPhone line will feature at least one 5G phone.
Nope.
What? No. You see,
It's not.
no?
It's not near ready. Like
Yes, it is.
No,
It's
yes,
like-
it is. It's totally fine in
You
Europe.
know that like T-Mobile have rolled 5G out along all of America.
no one's on T-Mobile,
But it doesn't matter.
and it's not even the good 5G. Like it's
But I'm not saying what kind of 5G. Like, you don't think that a 2020 iPhone will at least be 5G compatible?
no.
Please make a note. Stephen is highly skeptical of this. Please add it to
I'll
the
make
document.
that note. I'll make that note.
5G really isn't. I mean, yes, there's T-Mobile, but the good 5G is not here, and that they're a minor carrier. Two,
Well, I guess the good thing is America is the only country in the world, right?
Apple is never early on networking stuff.
Yeah, and they would be very late. There are like every competitor of theirs
this
has
is
5G
fun.
phones available.
Yeah, but no one buys them because of reason number 1. No one's buying the Samsung one. No one's buying the OnePlus one.
you in America, people are buying them out in
Do you know-
Europe. 5G exists in Europe.
How widespread is 5G in Europe, Mike?
Very much
okay.
so.
In the United Kingdom, 5G is turned on in a lot of places. In the entire city of London, there is coverage.
Oh, cute. One city.
My current plan already has 5G and I'm not using it. And it was given to me for free by my carrier.
Apple is slow to these things. Number 3, all the chipsets that we've seen so far are run really hot and very power hungry.
That's your best point in this discussion.
All right, let me just say, because it was not just one city. London, Birmingham, Manchester, Bristol, Leicester, Edinburgh, Belfast, Cardiff, Coventry. They are the biggest cities.
Those places are all, you could have made up half of those.
Do you want the coverage checker that I just looked at?
Every phone that has this is enormous and hot with bad battery life. So the question is, do we believe in 9 months that either Qualcomm and or Apple's now owned Intel like chip team are going to have a 5G chipset that Apple wants to use, and they can make them at enough numbers to support an iPhone? Remember, this past year, we got an additional 4 to 5 hours of battery life across the iPhone range. I don't think Apple can eat into that a year later. So like, unless they have some like magic wizardry up their sleeves.
When LTE was introduced, Apple said it made battery life worse. And you could choose to turn it off.
I don't.
They did
I
that
don't
with
see
3G. They did it with LTE. They could do it again with 5G.
I'm a skeptic. I'm a 5G skeptic.
I'm not saying I'm like super, like, as Tim would say, bullish on 5G as a thing.
Please don't use that word.
But I just think that 2020 will be the year that Apple goes to 5G.
Well, what was bullish again?
Bullish means like that. Bullish is like
You're excited.
You hit up with the bullhorns, right? And bear is like you attack down, right? So bearish is not
it's
good.
so
Bullish
stupid.
is good. I love it. It's the
This doesn't make sense. You still attack,
Yes.
though. So do you attack
But
5G?
bears attack downwards and bulls attack upwards.
Who says that attacking downwards is bad and upwards is good?
No, but it's just merely to indicate up and down. It's not about I've confused things
We've
by
been over
talking
this
about
before,
attacking
right?
so much, but like, yeah, bullish is up, bearish is down.
Yeah, we've had this exact conversation before.
Many times.
Okay, so I have a question. You say at least one 5G phone. So like how in your mind, how do you see Apple doing this?
That at least one iPhone supports 5G. Like you can buy an iPhone with 5G.
Is it cost more than the regular LTE phones?
Could do, probably, but that's not going in my pick.
Is it just, or is it like just the Max has 5G and
Maybe.
the others don't? Like, I mean, you have some idea here, I'm sure.
My idea would be that if it's not all of them, it will be like one of them, right? That like it's probably the Max, right? But this isn't going in my pick. It's just my thinking.
Sure, of course.
If they don't introduce it to the entire line, I believe that there will be a phone that has it. The 11 to the 12, or whatever replaces the 11, I do not think will have 5G. Right.
Okay.
I think that will be not in that line. It will be in the Pro line.
So the iPhone 11s Pro Max 5G.
Sure, but I don't think Apple will put 5G in the name.
I don't know about that. Never bet against a good naming decision from Apple.
You know what? Actually, I've just changed my point. If they get the ability to make the naming more confusing, they will take it. So they probably will do that.
I'm putting in iPhone 11s Pro Max
5G.
That's a terrible name.
But if you're
so
correct,
Apple,
my
though.
word.
It's the iPhone 11s Pro Max 5G.
Yeah.
I just want to Federico, you think that I'm right on this one, right?
Yes, I think you are.
Cool. I just wanted to have, because Stephen is so skeptical, I don't want to be the crazy one, right? So I just wanted to make sure at this point that even if I'm wrong, I'm not wrong on my own.
No. I think it will happen. I think lots of Android phones have 5G at this point. It's
like
very,
three Android phones have
It's
5G.
widespread in all major European cities and elsewhere. I believe in Asia too. The rollout is going well. So I like it. This is the classic case of American exceptionalism. They do not because it's not good in America, therefore it's not good anywhere else. But we'll see how this goes. Maybe for once you guys will be right.
I want to just say, like, when LTE, like 4G came around, it was the same deal. It was very good in Europe and not good in America.
Yes.
But Apple still moved to it.
Of all people, Stephen, you should know your history.
That was a much more tumultuous pick than I was expecting. I was not expecting we would talk about that for so long.
It was fun.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, let me settle it down a little bit. And I think this is one most people can probably agree on, is that we will see a 14-inch MacBook Pro. In short, the 13-inch MacBook Pro will get the 16-inch MacBook treatment and be a little bit bigger.
Well, so here's the question. You are making this pick that the screen gets bigger, right?
That is the actual pick. I'm not saying it'll be 14.0 inches, but I'm saying that it will get a larger screen.
Okay. I mean, you can call... I am just surprised that not surprised, actually. I am, like, questioning now if they will actually make the screen bigger or if they'll just make the changes to it.
So I've got some reasons to this. One, I think that they would like to make the 13-inch MacBook Pro more powerful, and to do that, basically, you've got to make it bigger. You want to
make the whole thing physically bigger, is what you mean? Yep.
Right. So you can manage the better cooling, because the 13-inch MacBook Pro just has the integrated Intel graphics. It's, I think, tops out at 6 cores right now. And honestly, like, the 13-inch MacBook Pro runs pretty hot now. And I think they would want to apply the cooling system that's in the 16-inch, like adapt that to that smaller form factor. And I think it makes sense for Apple to have a bigger divide between the MacBook Air and the MacBook Pro.
This is why I would assume it would happen, is for that reason.
Yeah.
Right? That, like, there needs to be more of even a visual differentiation between those two computers, and a bigger screen would do it.
Because they're pretty similar. In footprint, they're exactly the same. And in weight, they're pretty close. But, side by side, they look, just one has a touch bar and one doesn't, basically. So I think it makes sense for them to have a little distance between those machines. So yeah, 13-inch MacBook Pro will gain a larger screen, is the wording that I'm choosing.
I think that's a good thing to avoid it that way, in case it gets to like 13.9.
Right, because honestly, that if they do it, the 15-inch was 15.4 to 16, and so this actually would be 13.9 inches if they sort of keep it all in proportion. So we would call it the 14-inch MacBook Pro, just like we round. It's stupid. Like, some products' names get rounded down and some get up. So the 11-inch MacBook Air was really 11.6 inches, but
well, unless it's an iPad, which we refuse to round, and it's just a 12.9-inch iPad Pro. I hate that.
Which is really a 13-inch iPad Pro.
I wish they would just call it the 13-inch iPad Pro. It would be so much easier.
It's very confusing. So I think that 13-inch MacBook Pro will get a little bigger.
Bigger and beefier.
2020. It's going to buff up.
All right, so that's round one.
So my pick for round 2 is the following. At least one of the 2020 iPhones will have a higher refresh rate display, what we've come to know as ProMotion on the iPad Pro. I don't know if Apple will reuse the same ProMotion name. It'd be weird if they didn't. I just think
I think they've got to.
Yeah, they have to.
Well, unless they want to call it like the super hyper retina fast display.
Sure, like
which
something like
I
that.
would actually
5G.
think they would be more likely to do that. Yeah, 5G.
So
The iPhone 11s Pro Max 5G with the super high fast retina display. That's the full name
that
of the
to me
product.
seems very likely. I just think that at least one of the new phones, and I mean, this is just my personal theory, really the iPhones Pro should have it because it's right there. It's a Pro feature. It should be on a Pro phone. At least one of them will have a higher refresh rate display. We were expecting this feature in the 2019 iPhones. I think it's time that Apple make this a feature of an iPhone in 2020.
Yep. It feels like it's starting to become table stakes for a phone now. Is like, again, you could, I think we do this a lot on this show. I think it's valid, but I don't understand why people would think it might not be. It's like comparing what Android phones are doing. But I think history has shown that if something really catches on in the Android market and it doesn't go away, that Apple will try and find some way to do a version of that thing, right? Like with the key one of these being larger screens, right? That like Apple got there eventually. And I think that this one, there is so much smoke around this one in the fact that Apple already believes that this is a thing that should exist because they already sell an iOS device that has this feature, that it seems wild that they would not do this for the iPhone. And I am pretty on board with this because I would have wagered that they would have done it in 2019. So I think this one makes a lot of sense.
All right. I agree. It seems like it's time.
All right.
Definitely.
How about you, Mike?
The iPad Pro line is updated before the iPhone with a hardware feature that's new to iOS.
So can you clarify here?
Yeah.
Two things. A hardware feature, and that's new to iOS. I mean, iPad runs iPadOS now, but what you mean is a feature...
Basically, it's that the iPhone doesn't have before the iPhone gets it.
Right, got it. So it's your phrasing is correct. Okay, yes.
Yeah. That's why I said it that way, because I kind of just it just seemed like the easiest way to say it. But so I'm basically bouncing on rumors that have been going around for a while that the iPad Pro is going to get a new camera module that includes the like the 3D sensing camera thing, right? That is better for AR before the iPhone gets it. I think it makes sense that Apple would want to have this hardware if it's meant to be that much better for AR, right? That it can do like the 3D. Is it called time of flight? Is that what those sensors are called?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Right? That they would want to have this available to developers before it comes to the iPhone. So when the iPhone debuts with this feature, it's more prevalent. I do feel like at least an iPad Pro is going to get updated before the iPhone this year. I don't know if they will do both of them, right? But I feel like that is likely to happen before September. And if they do it, and they've got this new camera module, and it's going to have these new sensors that they want to have in the devices going forward, it would make sense to do it here first, especially because it's not that exciting that you're ruining a feature of the iPhone by putting it in the iPad first, right? It's, like, for example, if Face ID had come to the iPad first, it would have been like, oh, you've like taken the wind out of the iPhone sails. But a time of flight sensor in the camera module is like, you're not going to like upset people that the iPad gets it beforehand. And there really is only upside to doing this by being able to put this technology in developers' hands before the iPhone gets it.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this before. I think it makes sense, especially in the context of if it's a technology that requires developer support, you can talk about it at WWDC. You can have sessions and you can have developers prepare and actually write code and know how it's going to work. And suddenly, magically, in September, when the new iPhones also have the same camera, developers already know what to expect in terms of adoption.
But I've learned from picks in the past, and I didn't talk about the specific sensor that I'm referring to in my pick, on the off chance that it is something that is new to the iPad Pro before the iPhone gets it.
Right. No, I get it. And it's
So,
also,
depending on how charitable my co-hosts are, any new iPad Pro hardware feature could get me this pick, right?
You've left it pretty vague.
I just wanted to say that now. Like, for example, if the Apple Pencil had never existed, I would technically win that pick, right? If the Apple Pencil never existed and the Apple Pencil existed, then I would win the pick.
Federico,
Stephen, yes.
is this specific enough for you? You have to whisper so we can't hear you.
Yeah. Well, so here's
We're not whispering.
I'm whispering.
I can hear you.
I'm whispering now. This is the worst kind of ASMR
Because
podcast.
it's also terrible for anybody that uses silent skipping or smart
Yes.
speed.
So-
So chews through your sentences.
Okay, it's a good pick in the context of it's something that we can reevaluate at the end of the year because it depends on the iPhone, the new iPhones getting released. But now I think so. Here's my problem. I don't think if a new iPad only accessory comes out, this should qualify because
I think we can specify this too with an addendum of provided that this feature is not very clearly iPad only. Right. So like the examples that I'm using, like with the Apple Pencil and the Smart Keyboard, right? Like we could have said that's not coming to the iPhone.
Right. Yeah.
Well, so maybe we could word it that way, but what if we said something that doesn't show up in the 2020 iPhones?
No, I don't want that pick to be. I don't want the pick to be that way because, like, for example,
but other than that, we can't really grade it. We can't really grade it.
ProMotion, when that came out, everyone assumed the iPhone would get it.
Yeah, but we can really grade it. That's the point. We can
grade it. Of course, we can grade it.
No, because what if like the iPad Pro gets mini LED, right? But the 2020 iPhone doesn't. But the iPhone gets it in 2021. There's no way
right,
that
but you see, mini LED. I would say but in my way, I'm thinking about this. That counts because we all know that the iPhone's going to get that.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That is where it's too wishy-washy because we can't. That's like a second. You're basically creating a secondary like internal pick.
Well, I could say then, I could refine the entire pick to say the iPad Pro line is updated before the iPhone with a hardware feature that could conceivably come to the iPhone.
Or a hardware feature that is not on any current iPhone.
Yeah, okay.
Does that work?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Okay.
And then by the time we grade this in 1 year, that will include the new iPhone. So
Yes.
I think that works on both sides.
Yeah.
Yep, I love that.
Okay.
Thank you.
So by the time we grade it next year, if the iPad Pro was updated in June 2020 with a feature that is also in the 2020 iPhone, it still got it before the new iPhones.
Yep.
So it still counts. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a really that was pro Ricky work there.
It took us a minute to get there, but I think we got there.
we've really refined that and made it like a much better pick than it was even originally.
All right.
Very good
I'm
job.
going to go to the Apple service as well, which I found really interesting that neither of you picked anything so far with Apple
I
services.
thought about it and then I decided that it was too risky.
I'm going to say that Apple will launch its own podcast content.
That's so on the one hand, I think you may be right because podcast content takes less time and money to produce. Well, hold on.
Well, compared to the morning show, it's easier.
C?
I'm kidding,
You look
I'm kidding.
at C, right? Like, God knows how many $1 million per episode.
Conceivably, a show, any podcast is cheaper than the most expensive television show of all
Like,
time. Yes.
I don't think there will be people like using a cheap USB microphone from Amazon recording Apple originals in Cupertino.
They will use
Still-
Beats headphones, though. So,
Sure. Still, though. So here's my problem. On the one hand, I think it's like the time frame makes sense, but also Apple is kind of slow with these things. Like, you know, they don't rush things and they're still hiring people now.
Yeah.
So it's they can make it happen, but I think if you get this point, you will get it in the fall of 2020.
Yeah, I mean, because like the funny thing, you say like they're still hiring people now. They are hiring people we don't know what those people are being hired
Sure.
for. People are guessing what these people are being hired for based on track records.
And that's just the people we know about, right? If you have some sort of content deal with Apple, that may be private until their stuff is out, right? So I think it makes sense. I think it fits with the rest of what they're doing. I am putting no qualifiers on this, if they're paid or free, if they're Apple Podcasts only, if they're actually podcasts with RSS feeds. I'm saying nothing about any of that at this time, just that they will have their own content.
So I guess the way that we will judge it is that Apple announces, here is this. Okay, wait.
What?
Not Oprah.
You're putting a qualifier in it that I'm not.
Oprah has already announced that she would. Yes, the deal
Is that true?
that Apple did with Oprah includes podcasts.
Are you sure?
It includes any type of content.
Okay.
Right.
So I will say beyond Oprah.
Because the Oprah deal is like overarching for everything.
If she makes a paper airplane, Apple gets rights to it. So
Yes.
okay,
like,
fair.
So,
That's fair. Okay.
I think that it just has that.
Remember.
Yeah.
So I'm not up on my Oprah content deals.
Oprah on the Oprah.
Oh God. Okay.
So yeah, just to confirm this one, it's like any content that is coming from Apple is said to be they promote as such. Is a new show, a new podcast consumed in any way that podcasts can be consumed, whether that's on Apple's own service or widely available. That's cool. I'm cool with that.
Cool. Okay. Well, that is round 1 and round 2. We've had some arguments. We've had some laughs. We've had some tears.
We've had some constructive criticism, and we've worked together.
We're going to take a quick break to talk about Hover, one of this show's longest-running sponsors. When you have that big idea for a new company or a new project, where do you go? How do you get started? For a lot of us, Hover is that big leap because your business starts with a domain name. Hover has over 300 domain name extensions to choose from. No matter what you build, there's a domain name waiting for it. And Hover has excellent technical support. So if you have questions or you run into an issue, they're going to help you because they're dedicated to getting you online, not upselling you for stuff that you don't need. Hover has a bunch of awesome stuff. Free Whois privacy, so the bad guys don't see your info. Really clean user experiences when you're searching for domains or checking out. And monthly sales on popular top-level domains. It's easy to see why Hover is the popular choice for people starting businesses. Anytime I am starting a new project, my search starts at Hover. All my domains are there, and they have been for a really, really long time. Buy your domain and start using it today. Go to hover.com/connected and get a 10% discount on all new purchases. That URL one more time, hover.com/connected. Make a name for yourself with Hover. Our thanks to Hover for the support of this show and Relay FM.
It's time for the Ricky picks, and I will remind our listeners that, as you have seen from just today's grading, the picks can come down to the Rickies. You can do as well as you like in round 1 and 2. But if you get your Ricky wrong, it can spell game over for you.
They very often
Federico.
come down to the Rickies.
It pretty much always comes down to the Rickies. If you don't get your Ricky right, you can't win.
Yeah.
Unless everybody loses.
Right.
And then then the coin rules out amongst everything. We should make coins. But anyway, we should make Ricky coins. Write that down. Someone has to write that down. Ricky coins?
Special
Okay.
Ricky coins.
Connected.
Come on. At this point, isn't that a great
design,
merchandise idea?
Ricky
The official Ricky coin?
coins.
Can we use the likeness of somebody called Ricky on this merchandise?
We'll see.
Will anyone?
That feels like a lot of like a lot of weight to put on this individual person.
I know, but it's for the greater good. Anyway.
No, I mean anyway, we're giving away a lot of branding space.
Yes.
To this one person called Ricky.
I know.
Yeah. What if their name's Richard? I mean, it's not a
Well,
Ricky.
it needs to be known as Ricky.
We
Anyway.
could call them then the Richard Pitchard. Anyway,
No.
so the Federico,
Yes.
can you please tell us your Ricky for the entire year of 2020?
I will probably need help with phrasing here, but here's what my Ricky pick is. I believe Apple will release at least one new Pro app, one new Pro application for iPad that we haven't previously seen on the platform. So
what does Pro App mean?
okay, so this is where I need help. Well, first there's the sort of we'll know it when we see it kind of rule. Like if a new version of Clips comes out, I don't think we will consider that a Pro app.
No, it's not new on the platform.
It's also not new on the platform, but like something along those lines, like a new, like utility, like Clips, like maybe you can make, well, that used to exist, like holiday cards. That used to be a thing, but that's not a Pro app, right? Something that is widely accepted to be a professional
the
tool.
easy ones are Xcode, Final Cut, Logic.
The easy ones
right?
are
They're
those
easy.
three.
We know those, right? Like
iWeb.
that's
Those three.
given.
If a new version
iWeb,
of
yes.
Swift Playgrounds comes out, doesn't count because we already have Swift Playgrounds.
But something for Swift UI, maybe.
Something for Swift UI should be considered a Pro app. So anything that...
Well, but here's the question. Swift Playground's a Pro app? I don't think it was pitched as a professional application.
Well, I mean, that's debatable though. Like you can run actual code and like...
Right, but that wasn't what Apple told you could
Yeah,
do.
Apple called it educational, right?
Yeah, and I wouldn't call that. I wouldn't. With the way it was like shown off, Swift Playgrounds was not a professional app. It was an educational
Agreed.
tool.
Agreed.
But then Steve Troughton-Smith, like it's like, would we call, I don't know, News Plus a Pro app? He dug in there and found some stuff.
All right.
Like,
well, again, as I said, this should be widely accepted to be a Pro app in that case. I mean, if it's Logic or Final Cut or Xcode,
yeah.
but yeah, if it's a new app that we haven't, like that we've never seen, that will have to be discussed. Like, is that...
And I guess professional apps, like a real easy qualifier is like they are used to produce work-based materials.
Yeah.
Right.
But also,
Like that's an easy one.
another potential issue here is what happens if Apple releases like a watered down version of those three existing Pro apps that, and I believe even if they don't have all the features of Logic Pro 10.
I don't think we can. We should judge this on features. Like,
Right.
so if Apple release a version of Logic but strip out half of the stuff, it doesn't matter. Like they released what is considered a professional application on the platform.
Yeah.
We can criticize it as much as we want, but right, it's like nobody. Like when Apple went from Logic 7 to Logic Pro, people had complaints about it, but we all knew. The Final Cut, sorry, but like we all knew it was Final Cut, right? Like it was still a version of Final Cut. It just wasn't what people wanted.
Right. So yeah, if Apple releases either one of those three that we haven't seen on iPad before, or something new comes out that is still widely considered to be a Pro app, and it needs to happen on iPad. So if Apple only brings out Logic and for some reason it's only on the iPhone, this doesn't count. It needs to be on the iPad. It doesn't have to be iPad.
Xcode for iPod Touch.
It doesn't have to be iPad only. So here's what also I want to specify. It can be universal, but it needs to be on the iPad.
This one might be difficult to judge, but I'm happy with where it is in your pick. But this one might take a bit of voting to get right.
I agree with Federico. I think between the three of us, we could answer the question if an app is Pro or not. So I like this pick, Federico, because like I saw this and viewed it as risky because Apple has really done nothing as far as Pro apps on the iPad. So it'd be a good time to start.
Yeah, but I think it's something they're also aware of. And I don't know if Apple is in a position where they want to concede this space to third-party developers. So I think it's about time that they sort of jump into this market. So I don't know. We'll see.
As I get closer to reading out my pick, I feel less confident in it. But
yeah,
it's too late now.
Uh-huh.
My Ricky is that the notch on the iPhone will get physically smaller in the 2020 iPhone line.
Okay, so the first part of the sentence is okay. I want you to specify in the 2020 iPhone line. What does that mean?
One of the phones will have a smaller notch.
So one of the 2020 iPhones will have a smaller notch. It doesn't. So it doesn't matter if it's like the new SE, and for some reason it's got a smaller notch. You will still get the point, right?
Well, the SE doesn't have a notch.
Well, what do you know?
We don't know that.
You don't know
there's
that?
a new one.
Oh, okay.
Right? Like if there's
Yeah,
a
I'm
new...
going to go with that.
Okay.
Okay.
There is an iPhone that has a smaller notch
There is a new
Okay.
iPhone in 2020 with a smaller notch.
than any phone that we currently have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. That feels risky.
That's very risky, Mike.
Do you want to know why I mean, you probably guess it, but do you want to know why I'm making this bet?
Because all
'Cause the
other
notch is-
Android phones
is
are
ugly.
making it
Well,
smaller.
it's just that the thinking is, the perceived thinking is that the next iPhone will feature a new hardware design. And I think one of the things that Apple should do is try and over time make the notch smaller anyway. So if they do something to make it smaller, that would be great. The other thing is, thank you for pointing this out, if the SE does take the iPhone 10 design, we believe it will not have Face ID, so it in theory
Right.
does not need to have a notch as large. It will still have one, because I think Apple will want it to still have one, but it won't need to be as large. And from what I understand about the way apps are designed these days, the notch can kind of be any size anyway, because you're not supposed to put anything up there, so it doesn't really matter. So I don't know. That's my thinking. We'll see. But I think that it will be, if Apple really wants to, like, if the reason they're redesigning the iPhone for 2020 is to excite people again about the iPhone, making the notch smaller would help that, I think.
It would make the existing phones look old immediately, and that's a powerful thing. Man, that's bold, Mike.
I might need to get the old calipers out on this one, but
I am leaning into this Apple Podcast business. My Ricky pick is that the Apple Podcast app will launch on Android.
this is potentially the least Ricky of the three, but it is still Ricky.
Yeah, I think
because
so.
there is a lot of stuff that has to happen before this happens.
Like what?
Well, Apple has to, one, have their own original podcasts this year. Right?
That's not part of this, Ricky. I'm just saying the app will launch on Android.
No, I'm just saying, like, in my thinking,
And
it's
you're
not saying
thinking-
it's part of the Ricky. Like, for
Okay.
Apple to do this, right,
They would need original content.
there would need to be a reason to do it in which they haven't already done it before.
And original content would be the obvious reason.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree with that.
And-
Yeah.
But even more than that, the original content has to only be available in the Apple Podcast app, because otherwise they don't need to launch the Apple Podcast app on Android if you can get the podcasts anywhere. And I think the main reason is they have to have a reason to want to charge you, because otherwise what's the point? So that's my thinking. Like, there are a few things that have to happen for this to happen. The fact that you can now get Apple Podcasts in the Amazon Echo leans in your favor a little bit on this one.
Yeah.
But still, to launch it on the Echo before Android phones is a weird thing to do if you're going to do it. Because
They launched there the same day Spotify did. And Apple's number one competitor in the podcast market share is Spotify.
yeah,
And Spotify is on Android, obviously. And you have some Android clients, and we have friends who make them, and there's some good options on Android. But I think that I agree with you that this, if Apple does their own content, this is far more likely. But I can also just see a world where Apple wants to retain its dominance over the podcast market, and Spotify is growing quickly, and on Android, there's no one to cap their growth, and Apple's the only one who could. And so maybe they would do it just defensively against Spotify. I think it's way more likely once there's original content, but this just feels like I just have a feeling that this is something that we could see this year, and so I'm swinging for the fences.
Is, I'm just not sure if it is, like, if there's no original content and it is, like, I just don't know if Apple Podcasts would make an effect on Android otherwise.
Well, so there's a lot of, and like this is sort of a weird thing to talk about. There's a lot of research that shows that most podcast listening happens on iPhone, and there's not very much listening on Android. And you can make a lot of assumptions about why that is. We're going to leave that conversation to the side, because I think a lot of those conversations get ugly really quickly. But I think that as Spotify grows, they're going to grow on iOS, but there's fewer limitations on them on Android, and maybe Spotify will be the place that
thing, right? Like, where a lot of people think that podcasts only exist on the iPhone because everyone says to find out an Apple Podcast.
Right. Some people would be learning that podcasts exist on Android at all when this happened, and I think it helped solidify them as the biggest player. And I think it makes a lot of sense from Apple's perspective in a bunch of different ways. And The other thing that made me feel optimistic about this pick is that they built TV apps for other people's televisions. Now, they are charging for that content, to your point, but current Apple is willing to put their software on other people's platforms, and that's not something they've ever done outside of iTunes. So it just feels like there's a bunch of angles into this.
They did it first in the modern era with Apple Music.
Right, which exists. I mean, Beats was on...
Yeah, so they updated Beats basically to make it an Apple Music client. But like that started the trend of like, all right, we have a service and we want people to pay for it.
Yeah.
So we'll put it in as many places as we can get it. And it's the same that followed with TV.
Yeah.
That's why it's like, I only really see this happening if they have a way to make revenue gain.
Yeah. We'll see.
We'll see. That's why I think this is risky, because I think it's not a simple thing. Because if it was simple, they would have done it already. I think there has to be a business case for them to want to do this, because you could argue that Apple Podcasts on the iPhone, if there is no reason for Apple to make money, is a potential selling point of the iPhone to some people. And if you put the Apple Podcast app and there is no financial incentive to them, then why put it there? This is why I think it's risky.
No, it's all good points. So... Yeah. We will see how this goes, just like everything else. So we will wrap this up with our non-graded picks. So these picks don't affect...
I think we should rename these to the flex picks.
The flex picks?
Yeah, because this is purely flexing. This is all this is.
I kind of like it.
Because there's no points for them, and all we're doing here is just like trying to show how big our brains are, right? Like, oh, look how smart I am. Great.
The flexies.
The flexies.
Yes, the flexies.
The flexies. Let's do it.
The flexies. No points are awarded for the flexies, but they are purely so we can. That's how because this is how the year of Stephen was born. It was a flexi.
Yes. So I'm gonna try my hand again at this.
You keep coming back to it.
Again, 2-part sentence. Shortcuts will gain folders, and or new ways to run shortcuts. So what I'm thinking of, besides folders, what I'm thinking of is maybe running shortcuts from the home screen is different and doesn't require that you launch the shortcuts app anymore. Maybe there'll be something like system-wide keyboard shortcuts to run a specific shortcut from a keyboard. Or maybe you will be able to pin specific shortcuts to the Files app as quick actions. There's a column view. There's an inspector now in Files. On the Mac, you can make your own quick actions, and I believe you should be able to make your own quick actions powered by shortcuts for Files on iOS and iPadOS as well. So ideally there should be both of these features, so both folders and new ways to run shortcuts. But I'm skeptical about folders, and I think maybe we'll just get some new ways to run shortcuts.
Federico, I really want to have this conversation with you, but we have to pause for a moment, because literally 5 minutes ago, the newspaper, the Memphis Flyer, tweeted the following: the 5G network, 20 times faster than the current 4G network, is now available on certain devices in parts of downtown, Midtown, Cooper Young, and East Memphis.
Oh, no.
Literally, as the show is happening, the 5G network got turned on in Stephenstown.
It's Verizon, too, not T-Mobile.
Those are the bad parts of town. It's all about West Memphis. We all know that. So who cares about East Memphis? So what about South Memphis? What about
West Memphis is a place. Those are places.
How'd you feel now?
My neighborhood is listed in those. I won't say which one, but I definitely live in one of those areas.
How'd you feel? Do you feel literally any different to what you felt earlier on in the show?
We'll see.
This is honestly the best piece of follow-up that's ever happened to me.
Wow, ever?
It's real time.
Yeah. I can't think of a
7
piece of
years of the show,
follow-up that
this is
has
it.
made me feel happier than what has just occurred. Because it happened during the show. During the show, it happened.
Look, we've all been wrong. We've all been right. Time will tell which one I am.
Yeah, I know. But like for right now, this feels really good because you're like, oh, what towns have it? Like yours now.
Yeah. My neighborhood is in that tweet. All right.
Anyway, so Federico, I am with you on like you repick this one because they've got to put folders in that application.
Why haven't they put folders in?
Or just any way of categorizing the shortcuts.
Yeah.
Just like any way.
Sort alphabetically something. It's a disaster. I mean, once you get above about 6 shortcuts, you can't find your way around anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's bad.
I like that, Federico.
Do you have any particular ways that you would like to run shortcuts differently?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Yeah, I'm just interested, like, as the Premiere Shortcuts user, what other ways would you like to...
Yeah, so I mentioned system-wide keyboard shortcuts, quick actions in files, running from the home screen in a way that doesn't launch the Shortcuts app. So it just runs within the home screen.
Like the widget?
Yeah, you get a progress bar on top of the icon, something like that.
Because that's what I like about the widget. Like, if you don't know, there's a lot of shortcuts that you can run just from the widget. And they only work that way from the widget.
Yeah.
And I like that.
Yeah. I would also, personally, I would like to have, the share sheet, the shortcuts, when you run a shortcut inside the share sheet, I don't want to see the action editor anymore. I don't want to see the actions flow.
So the one that I keep feeling this way, and I'm sure it's the exact same one for you, is MusicBot. MusicBot does not need to open shortcuts to operate what it's doing.
Yeah, but
in theory,
right now it needs to open shortcuts because of a bug in shortcuts.
No, for what MusicBot is doing, in theory, shortcuts doesn't need to be there because it's only ever presenting me with just lists, right? Like, just you could have that list pop-up appear on a home screen icon, right? Just as like a pop-up window. I don't need to have the Shortcuts app open for that. Yeah. And I'm so with you on keyboard shortcuts. I would love more ways to trigger them with keyboard shortcuts. That would be fantastic.
How about you, Myke?
Like Federico, his flexi was that he would refuse to let go a previous pick. Mm-hmm. I'm the same. I still believe Apple will announce a services bundle. Like a way to pay for multiple Apple services with one payment. That's it.
I think what you said earlier is really smart about a bunch of people got TV Plus for free, and that will be winding down about the time, 9 months from now, and maybe when season 2 stuff is coming up. So I think that it's in the cards for 2020. I agree with you. I think they got to do it.
Because Apple have basically confirmed on investor calls that they will not do the free gift again. That's what Tim called it, a gift.
Yeah.
That was this year, and that's
Thanks, Tim. All right. I said this is my shout out to our boy John Voorhees. WWDC will bring no real changes to Mac Catalyst.
Oh no, no!
So how much of a shout out is that to John?
It's condemnation of
the Catalyst guy.
There's a lot lacking in Mac Catalyst, and it just seems.
And it will continue to lack. That's what you're saying.
Sometimes Apple doesn't improve the obvious things, and I fear that Mac Catalyst will. Look, SwiftUI is the future, right? And that's what they're going to focus on. And I'm just I disagree with this. I think they should improve it, but I'm just afraid that Apple thinks Mac Catalyst is good enough, and they're just going to let it sit.
Well, I've been thinking about this too recently, and I genuinely think that the Mac Catalyst team did not know that SwiftUI existed.
Oh, no way. They definitely got
railroaded. It got basically SwiftUI was developed in the same way that Swift was, like in secret with a small team. And Catalyst was being developed beforehand. Seemed like a logical thing to do. They announced it. Then SwiftUI got to a place that they were ready to announce that, and they just shelved Catalyst. But still put it out the door because they spoke about it too soon. And maybe they shouldn't have done that.
Mm-hmm. Poor Catalyst. Federico, your final flexi.
So my final flexi is, I believe, it's nice to say.
This is like our show is just one of the most rewarding creative experiences in my life.
Because you can just come up with your own rules.
And we just come up with things, and then we all just agree to it, and then it just is. It's such a welcoming environment. It's brilliant.
Yeah, anybody can come up with ideas over here. So my final flexi is that the... Every time I say it, you giggle. So
well, just because we're taking it so seriously already.
So I hereby announce that my final flexi shall be that the iPad home screen will continue to change in 2020 with new elements and new additions. So beyond the widgets, beyond the date and the clock, there will be more.
Guys, my computer's here.
You
guys keep talking about the iPad. I'll be back.
All right, we'll talk about the iPad. Go get your computer. We'll be able to hear Stephen like straining to bring it in the door. It's like, as he brings it
Please,
in
can you
massively.
just... Okay, it's gone.
My initial thought was like, what could they add? Oh, they could add little contact icons to the home screen. They'll definitely do that. They like to put those in all over the place.
There used to be a thing in like the iOS 8 beta.
Well, it's a thing again. It's in the share sheet.
Yeah,
Right?
sort of.
They
yeah.
love to do that.
But no, I'm thinking, obvious choice would be you should really be able to create bookmarks for files and folders like you can on the desktop.
I feel like I will be asking for this every year for the rest of my entire life. Consistent app pairs.
But that's not a home screen feature, is it?
Yeah, but you could add it to the home screen as an icon, right? You know what I mean?
Interesting. Mm-hmm.
That's like a new thing to the home screen that like, oh, you can now add these app pairs.
Oh, like you launch it and it's already like, yeah, that'd be nice. Actually, like if you combine two icons together and you create like a like a grouped icon, something like that.
Like a Franken icon.
Yeah, like half of Tweetbot and half of I don't know, the Card Hop burger or something. Like Tweetbot eating the burger.
Like the bird is eating the burger.
The sandwich. It's not a burger; it's a sandwich.
Okay.
Well, I just think that we could see files and folders, so like you can do with the Finder. But really, I think what should also qualify here is if you were able to place widgets anywhere. Because I really think they should just do it. Just do it. Just let go of that sidebar.
I don't even know if I need that anymore, honestly.
I want to use more widgets. This is my problem. I want to use more of them.
Okay.
I don't necessarily... I would get more utility out of widgets than I get from icons. Because icons, like stuff I can launch in a bunch of ways.
And you can launch an app from a widget anyway.
You can launch an app from the widget. If you're an iPad Pro user, and it's very likely that you have a keyboard, you can just search and launch apps that way. You have a dock that can collect more than 4 apps, like on the iPhone. So there are more ways to launch icons and apps than there are to see information at a glance or to perform quick actions at a glance. And we just do that. And so I would love to have like a bunch of widgets on my home screen. Just allow me to make my home screen my own, the way that I want to use it. I think it's great. And we got a little taste of the idea of what if you could see at the same time both icons and widgets. And I think it's time to go a step beyond that because people like it so
icons,
much.
Widgets, files, folders.
Yeah.
That would be like that would be it. That would be the perfect thing. I think he's back.
Oh my God.
He's got it. Let's
Drop
hear
it to
the
the floor.
excitement in his voice.
Drop it real loud.
Very heavy.
I guarantee that we're about to do like 1 more minute of the show before he makes a stop, right? Like the show is going to be absolutely rocketed towards its conclusion now. And Stephen just wants to unbox his computer.
What's going on?
I wonder how heavy it is. Is he even... It sounds like he's opening it.
Are you opening the box?
No, I got a show to finish.
Oh, I thought I heard a cardboard crack.
Are you touching the box?
It's on the other side of the office.
Right.
I can undo the Velcro on the side of the box. Hang on.
Oh, you've taken it out of the cardboard box?
I did because the cardboard box didn't have handles on it. I had to carry it out to the office.
That's a good idea. So you did the whole like thing where you pull the tab?
Yeah. Did you hear the Velcro? Here, listen to this.
Oh
my.
Sweet Velcro.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of Velcro.
That's nice.
So I have a surprise topic. It's going to take about 2 hours.
Uh-huh.
You cool with that? We're going to do that right now.
Right now?
Yeah. We're going to do another 2 hours of the show. You're fine with that, right?
Yes.
You haven't nowhere to be.
No. I think we're ready to wrap it up.
It's about shortcuts for Pokemon.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think you're ready? You think you're ready to wrap up the episode now, do you?
I think we're good. I think I'm just going to hang up.
You don't want to do your final flexi. We're all good.
We still need to hear the final flexing from Myke and the final flexing from Stephen.
All right, Myke.
All right. I would like to tell you guys a story for my final.
Come on.
I'll let you take you on a journey, on a visual journey.
My final flexi was my second choice Ricky. If you didn't accept my Ricky, I was going to choose this one, which is Apple will introduce a new iMac design with an accompanying external display. So by that, I just mean like there's a new iMac and there's a new display that looks like the new iMac, basically.
Okay. The iMac design's been the same since 2012. It's time. The bezels are enormous.
They've got to do it, right? They've got to.
This
change
would
it.
be classic Myke if you had made this your Ricky and only half of it had come true, because this is actually two picks. It's a new iMac design and a new external display.
Right. But the reason I did that, because you were like, why did you do that? Because I don't think that you would have accepted you two either of those independently as a Ricky.
No, they had to go to, yeah.
So
yeah.
I had to do both.
It was a catch
to
22.
make it Ricky. So, but now you accepted my Ricky, so I made this my final flexi.
Perfect. The flexi.
I hope it's true, man. It's time.
They've got to do it. I feel like because I mean my other thing is that there will not be, this is just my own personal theory now, an update to the iMac Pro at all
Ever?
now, ever, and that the new iMac design will include the ability to spec one to a very very powerful configuration.
Like, so a merging of the lines.
I think so.
I think that makes sense. The iMac Pro, I mean, look, it came from a time before the Mac Pro was going to exist.
It doesn't need to exist. Like, you don't have to have an iMac Pro if everybody knows that the top of the line iMac can become very, very powerful.
Yep.
You don't need to have an iMac Pro. The iMac Pro only needed to exist when there was no other desktop professional machine.
Well, maybe like the 4K could still be silver, and then the 5K would be like a little bit darker, and then the high-end 5K would just be space gray.
I think they'll do a 6K.
That's bold.
Why not?
I don't think they will. I think
But they did a 5K. Just keep making it bigger.
just keep adding more Ks. All right. Mine, I'm going to
Oh, I just read this.
the ARM Mac burned me in 2019.
I thought I glanced at this and assumed what it said.
Yeah. And so
This comes from
you know
a place of profound hate for your
this is
previous
coming.
pick.
This is a
Regret.
flexi out of spite.
Yes.
It's a Spidey. I have a Spidey.
This is going too far.
Apple does not ship the first ARM Mac in 2020.
Yeah.
And I swear, if I'm wrong about this and they do,
What if they do?
well, if they do, Mike has to buy me one because that was an eternal promise.
No, it's not the
No,
way
it
that it
wasn't.
works. If,
That wasn't
if
the
you're
way
gonna
that
say
it
that they do not ship one, and they
Yeah.
do, you need to buy
You
one
should buy
for
me
Mac.
one.
Yes,
Yeah.
Oh,
Let's do that.
that's the way that it works.
I don't want to.
You don't have to go top of the line.
You know, I don't want to. I don't want to be. I don't want
you can
just
go.
do
You
what you
can
did
go
again.
mid range. You know,
to go mid range.
drop a sweet 5K on a computer that you're just gonna give to Mike.
I feel like the ARM Macs won't be expensive
Well, if it's like the new MacBook, then yes, probably.
because I think that's what they start with anyway, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like an entry line consumer laptop.
Yeah,
It's probably the first one.
call it the Apple Book.
Oh, you know what? Probably it will be Apple something. I
Yeah.
reckon.
Apple
The Apple
the
top.
A-Book.
The Apple top.
Apple top, app top,
The app top. It's an app top.
Lapple top. But like it's L apostrophe Apple top.
Yeah,
Right. It's, like the Lapple top.
top.
the Lapple Top 5G.
Lapple top.
Max.
All right, I have no idea how we did. We will find out in a year. That's the fun of this game.
Or by the time the episode comes out, maybe. Who knows?
We may know some of it by then. I love that we start our year with this every year. It's so much fun, and we'll move these to the section of the document. We keep tabs on this throughout the year. So let's do it again real soon. I think that does it for this week, guys. This was a lot of fun. Like I said, I always enjoy this. If you are out there and you want to find the links to stuff we talked about, there's not many of them, but there's a few good ones. They're at relay.fm.
Can you hear how excited he is right now,
/
Federico?
connected.
Can
I'm
you
trying to
hear
get through
it?
this. Let me
He's
go.
probably already standing and just talking into the microphone while standing.
There's two things I know are happening. One, he is looking at the computer
Yeah.
and has a smile on his face as he's
Look,
talking.
man, it's not gonna roll away. The wheels are not on.
You didn't get the wheels.
I didn't get the wheels. So show notes, relay.fm/connected/275. While you're there, you can get in touch with feedback or follow up. There's an email link there, or you can find us all on Twitter, of course. You can find Myke on Twitter as IMYKE. Myke is the host of a bunch of shows here on the network. If you missed the Upgrade Holiday Special, you need to go listen to it because it is fantastic. It's so good. It was a lot of fun to listen to that, and I think everyone will really enjoy it. And of course, the Upgradies are right around the corner, so don't miss those either.
No, they've happened.
They've happened too. Time is a flat circle.
Time. We're so messed up on time right now.
Yeah, just go check out Myke's other stuff. You know where to find it. You can find Federico on Twitter as Viticci, Viticci. If you follow him on Twitter, I think that John Voorhees will mail you a trophy. I think is what we've learned recently.
Sure.
So go do that as well. And you can find me on Twitter as ISMH and my writing over at 512pixels.net. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Booz Allen, Health IQ, and Hover. And until next time, gentlemen, say goodbye.
Arrivederci.
Goodbye, everybody.
Adios.